Do you love The Simpsons? Well, we've decided to make a video about their incredible predictions that have actually come true, because we really wonder how this crazy family manages to be so accurate in their prophecies. It's as if the writers have a crystal ball to predict the construction of a skyscraper in London, anticipate future technologies, or even speculate in an amazingly precise way about the death of the Queen of England. These predictions are completely unbelievable, but that's exactly what you'll see in this video, provided, of course, that you watch it to the end. Come on, let's start. Throughout the episodes, The Simpsons have become accustomed to making predictions that have surprisingly come true, sometimes with a level of accuracy that is mind-boggling. But in this segment, we're going to address one of their most subtle predictions, yet as blatant as a skyscraper. In one of the most outrageous episodes of the animated series titled Lisa's Wedding, which aired for the first time on television on March 19, 1995, we can see a scene with the iconic Big Ben, whose clock has been turned into an analog display for the occasion. But if you zoom in on the image, you will see a huge skyscraper on the left side of the screen, right next to London's Tower Bridge. So far, nothing abnormal, you might say. But what you don't know is that this building looks exactly like the 87 floors Shard, a skyscraper that is the pride of Londoners, but whose construction work did not begin until 2009, nearly 14 years after the first airing of this Simpsons episode. So, did the engineers of this building take inspiration from The Simpsons for their architectural project? Maybe. But it might also be another of The Simpsons' predictions that has finally come true, don't you think? If we were to believe the fans of The Simpsons, their favorite show would have invented the diesel engine, the butter slicer, and even the atomic bomb while they're at it. America's most eccentric family would have imagined the first iPods, anticipated audio-video communications, and even revealed the future shortcomings of certain voting machines. But in this segment, we'll go even further than these diehard fans by showing you an incredible technological prediction that has finally come true. Proof, if ever there was, that The Simpsons have always been ahead of their time. In one of the show's funniest animated episodes, we can see, during a rather hilarious scene, one of the characters using a smartwatch to make a phone call. Such a gadget nowadays costs no more than $10 on Amazon or AliExpress. But don't forget that the episode in question was initially broadcast in 1995, well before the technological revolution of the 2000s and the emergence of smartphones and smartwatches. Among the most unusual predictions of The Simpsons is the one concerning the censorship of the Renaissance Italian sculptor Michelangelo's artwork. This concerns his sculpture of David, a monumental and ultra-famous masterpiece which nevertheless does not receive unanimous support wherever it is displayed. This statue is, in fact, a naked male figure, so you can imagine the reaction of Puritans and old-fashioned people when they come across it. Almost every time a museum dares to exhibit the statue, voices are raised to protest its display, demanding that its sensitive parts be covered with a sheet or at least hidden. But what is really curious is that The Simpsons had already anticipated this censorship of David in the episode Homer vs. Lisa and the Eighth Commandment, which was first broadcast in 1990. One of the scenes showed the residents of Springfield protesting against Michelangelo's statue displayed at the local museum and calling the artwork obscene because of its nudity. Nevertheless, it would be wise to say that The Simpsons didn't really predict anything on this occasion, as it should be known that David has always provoked rejection and revulsion from many people, including Michelangelo's contemporaries, who were among the greatest detractors of this rather indecent sculpture. The censorship of David is not a recent phenomenon, which means that this prediction by The Simpsons is not really a prediction in the true sense of the word. Having predicted almost everything from the first iPod to the war in Ukraine, through the coronavirus crisis or the Ebola virus, The Simpsons certainly could not have missed out on Bitcoin and the crypto revolution, And this was indeed the case, as we were recently shown in episode 18 of season 32 entitled Burger Kings. In this episode, first broadcasted in 2021, we learned that Marge Simpson is frequently buying shares of a burger chain in the stock market. In one of the scenes, she watches a financial show on TV, and we can see real-time stock market data displayed at the bottom of her screen. Among the numbers scrolling, we can clearly see that Bitcoin is accompanied by a green infinity symbol, meaning that its stock price is exploding. And when we know the current value of this cryptocurrency, which exceeds $20,000, we cannot deny this nth prediction of The Simpsons that has once again proved to be completely accurate. However, some fans of the show created by Matt Groening believe that this infinity symbol actually means that Bitcoin will experience dizzying inflation and will, therefore, be worthless in the future. It seems that The Simpsons' mysterious predictions touch almost every aspect of our contemporary era, including international financial crises. This is the case in Greece, which was severely hit by a public debt crisis of catastrophic proportions. So much so that the country is literally on the verge of collapse today. Yet, The Simpsons would have already predicted in 2013 the financial crisis currently plaguing our Greek friends. In the 10th episode of season 23, entitled Politically Inept, Homer Simpson is invited to a political interview on a TV show. In the scrolling news at the bottom of the screen, we can read that Greece has been put up for sale on eBay by Europe. This subtle reference by the writers clearly means that the Greek economy had completely collapsed and the country would only survive thanks to European aid. But to break the myth, The Simpsons didn't really predict much this time because the Greek crisis began in 2008. Therefore, by 2013, the date of the episode's release, everyone already knew that Greece was completely ruined. Who would have thought over 20 years ago that the struggling Walt Disney Company would be powerful and wealthy enough to acquire Hollywood giants like the iconic Century Fox by spending just over $71 billion? Nobody, except for The Simpsons, who had already predicted it in 1998 in the 5th episode of season 10 entitled Homer to the Movies. In this completely hilarious episode, we are treated to a somewhat special scene where we can see a sign displayed on a building that reads, 20th Century Fox, a subsidiary of Walt Disney Company. The message is crystal clear and unequivocal, as if the writers of the animated series owned a time machine, because otherwise, how can we explain such an accuracy in this prediction? Unless, of course, it's just a mere coincidence. But it's too much of a coincidence. Coincidences? Especially since, by buying Fox, Disney also acquired all the series in its catalog, which now belongs to them, including The Simpsons. Perhaps Macron, King, and his friends really do have divinatory talents, or they place bugs in the CEO's office at Disney. Who knows? In any case, this team of seasoned writers would make Nostradamus look like a bad charlatan. The war in Ukraine is one of the most unfortunate events of 2022, with intense fighting and hundreds of thousands of civilian refugees. The world was surprised by the speed and determination of the attack, except, of course, for the fans of The Simpsons, who expected this conflict to happen sooner or later. Because yes, the American animated series had predicted this war, as it also predicted the resurgence of Russia 24 years ago. It was in 1998 that the episode titled Simpson Tide was released, where we could follow the adventures of Homer Simpson as he enlisted in the US Navy. As usual, the beer-drinking, overweight character continued to make mistakes on the ship he was stationed on, and even fired a salvo at a Russian submarine, causing a serious diplomatic incident. We then witness as viewers a picturesque scene where we see the resurrection of a thriving Soviet Union ready for a new Cold War with the Western world. We can even see Lenin rising from his grave and shouting "Death to capitalism" in one of the most hilarious scenes of the entire series. Even in terms of sports predictions, The Simpsons are true champions, and their forecasts often end up being astonishingly accurate. Was it not this same family that accurately predicted the outcome of the curling final in the Winter Olympics, where the American team narrowly defeated the Swedish team? This is precisely why Mexican and Portuguese football fans should be rejoicing, because they might find themselves competing against each other in the World Cup final. This is what The Simpsons predicted in 1997 in the 5th episode of the 9th season, entitled The Cartridge Family. In one of the funniest scenes of this episode, we can see that Mexico and Portugal meet in the World Cup final, without any specific date being mentioned. For now, this prediction has not yet come true, but who knows? Sports bettors and other bookmakers should be on their guard, because the rest of the events promise to be extremely exciting. Unfortunately, last of all, because on this final sequence, Simpsons fans have gone even further by claiming that their favorite show predicted the death of Queen Elizabeth II of England. Viral images supposedly taken from the series circulated just a few days after the death of the Queen, which occurred on September 8, 2022. In one of them, we could see the coffin of Queen Elizabeth II with a funeral inscription just above her, where we can read these dates of birth and death. That is, 1926 and 2022. But the allusion to the Queen of England is even more blatant in a scene from the animated series, where we can see the fateful date of September 8, 2022, written on a small notice attached to the Queen's carriage. However, both of these sequences are totally false and completely fabricated, because they are nothing more than a Photoshop montage made by cunning individuals who wanted to ride the media wave caused by the death of the Queen Mother. Now, tell us in the comments what you think of these incredible predictions made by The Simpsons, which ultimately came true. Don't forget to subscribe and click here to watch another one of our videos.